Have you ever wondered what secrets hide behind corporate success? Tonight, we uncover the chilling and tragic story of Luigi Mangione, a disillusioned young man, and Brian Thompson, the CEO of UnitedHealthcare, whose untimely death has become one of the most shocking crimes in recent corporate history. This is a story of obsession, resentment, and a crime that stunned the nation. Let's dive into the details of this haunting case. On December 4th, 2024, Brian Thompson, the 50-year-old CEO of UnitedHealthcare, was scheduled to attend an annual investors meeting at the New York Hilton Midtown in Manhattan. It was supposed to be a routine day for one of the most influential figures in the healthcare industry. Known for his ability to lead with vision and strategy, Thompson was at the peak of his career, overseeing one of the largest health insurance providers in the United States. But tragedy struck at approximately 6:44 a.m. that morning. Thompson was walking toward the entrance of the hotel when a masked assailant hiding behind a parked vehicle emerged and opened fire. Witnesses reported hearing multiple gunshots, and Thompson collapsed to the ground, clutching his chest. Emergency responders arrived within minutes and rushed him to Mount Sinai West Hospital, but despite their efforts, Thompson was pronounced dead at 7:12 a.m. The city of New York was in shock. How could such a high-profile figure fall victim to such a violent act in broad daylight? Surveillance footage from nearby cameras quickly became a crucial piece of evidence. The footage showed a man wearing a hooded jacket lingering near the hotel's entrance moments before the attack. The suspect fled the scene immediately after the shooting, disappearing into the streets of Manhattan. Within hours, the NYPD launched a citywide manhunt, and federal authorities joined the investigation. The crime was not just a murder. It was a direct attack on a symbol of corporate power. As investigators began piecing together the details, they identified the suspect as Luigi Mangione, a 26-year-old Maryland native and a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania. Mangione's background seemed unremarkable at first glance. He had studied business administration and briefly worked in the financial sector before becoming disillusioned with corporate America. However, as authorities delved deeper into Mangione's life, a disturbing pattern began to emerge. A notebook recovered from Mangione's apartment revealed a trove of writings that outlined his grievances against the healthcare industry. Mangione was enraged by what he perceived as the greed and exploitation perpetuated by insurance companies, and he had become fixated on Brian Thompson as the face of this perceived injustice. The notebook contained detailed plans to target insurance executives, and chillingly, Thompson's name appeared multiple times. Investigators described the writings as a manifesto of anger and obsession. The search for Mangione intensified as days passed. Law enforcement agencies across the country were on high alert, and tips poured in from the public. Finally, on December 9th, 2024, Mangione was apprehended at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. He was found carrying an unlicensed 3D-printed firearm, forged identification documents, and additional notes detailing his plans. The arrest brought some relief to a nation that had been gripped by fear and uncertainty, but it also raised questions about what had driven Mangione to such extremes. The legal proceedings against Mangione began almost immediately after his extradition to New York. He was charged with multiple counts, including first-degree murder, second-degree murder, and firearms offenses. Federal prosecutors also filed terrorism-related charges, arguing that the attack was an act of domestic terrorism aimed at intimidating a segment of the population. These charges carried the possibility of the death penalty, though it was unclear whether prosecutors would pursue that option. The case quickly became a media sensation. News outlets delved into Mangione's past, uncovering a troubled history marked by financial struggles and growing disillusionment with the healthcare system. Former classmates and colleagues described Mangione as intelligent but increasingly withdrawn in the years leading up to the crime. Some recalled conversations in which he expressed frustration with the perceived injustices of the corporate world, particularly in healthcare. These insights painted a picture of a man who had allowed his resentment to fester into something far more dangerous. During the trial, prosecutors presented a mountain of evidence against Mangione. The surveillance footage placed him at the scene of the crime, and forensic analysis linked the firearm found in his possession to the bullets recovered from the crime scene. Ballistic experts testified that the gun had been modified to evade detection, further demonstrating Mangione's premeditation. Additionally, the writings in his notebook left little doubt about his intentions. In one entry, Mangione wrote, "Thompson represents everything wrong with this system. He profits while people suffer. he'll never see it coming. Mangione's defense team faced an uphill battle. They argued that their client's actions, while indefensible, were the result of untreated mental health issues and societal pressures. They highlighted his struggles with depression and his feelings of powerlessness in the face of systemic inequities. The defense also pointed to Mangione's lack of a prior criminal record, suggesting that his actions were an isolated incident rather than part of a larger pattern. Despite these arguments, the prosecution's case was overwhelming. Witnesses recounted the chaos of the crime scene, and Thompson's family delivered emotional testimonies about the devastating impact of his loss. The jury deliberated for less than a week before returning a guilty verdict on all counts. Mangione was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, a punishment that many felt was fitting for a crime that had shaken the nation to its core. The murder of Brian Thompson has sparked a broader conversation about the intersection of corporate responsibility, public frustration, and mental health. While most condemned Mangione's actions, some use the case as an opportunity to criticize the healthcare system and its perceived failings. The debate highlighted the deep divisions in American society and the urgent need for meaningful reforms. Further investigations revealed additional details about the extent of Mangione's plans. The 3D-printed firearm he carried was just one of several weapons he had reportedly created. Authorities found a small cache of materials in a storage unit he had rented, including chemicals and notes detailing the potential construction of explosive devices. While these plans were incomplete, they suggested that Mangione may have been considering further acts of violence. This revelation deepened the gravity of his crimes and added another layer of complexity to his motivations. Meanwhile, Thompson's legacy has been the subject of much discussion. He was a man who dedicated his life to navigating the challenging landscape of healthcare, balancing profitability with public service. Friends and colleagues described him as a visionary leader who believed in innovation and collaboration. His untimely death has left a void in the industry and raised questions about how corporate leaders can address public discontent in meaningful ways. Brian Thompson's career was one defined by innovation, yet his tenure wasn't without controversy. Critics often pointed to the rising costs of premiums under his leadership, highlighting the tension between business growth and consumer affordability. In interviews, Thompson defended the company's policies, arguing that investment in advanced healthcare solutions justified the costs. For some, this rationale fell short. However, many within the industry acknowledged his efforts to expand coverage options and modernize healthcare technology. As Mangione begins his life behind bars, the legacy of this case endures. It serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked resentment and the importance of addressing systemic issues before they lead to tragedy. Brian Thompson's death was a loss not just for his family and colleagues, but for a nation grappling with the complexities of power, justice, and accountability. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that uncover the darkest truths hiding in plain sight.